Hello and welcome to Module 6 of Estate and Probate Management. In this module, we shall be looking at writing and executing a will. A will is more than a document. It is a roadmap for loved ones. The module content that we'll be looking at here include how to write a will, step-by-step process, including sample draft templates. Then we'll also look at legal requirement for a valid will in Nigeria, that is Will Act of 1837 as amended. We'll also look at structure and essential clauses of a standard will and execution formalities. We'll look at drafting techniques and common drafting error. We'll also look at codicize, amendment, and digital estate planning before we draw our conclusion. Let us begin with the introduction. That is the cornerstone of estate planning. By a way of a definition, will may be defined as a legal document through which a person, that is the testator, express how their property, assets, and obligations should be managed and distributed after death. Why a will is essential? Without a will, that is intestacy with a will. So without a will, state decide the distribution of your wealth. But with a will, you will decide how your property will be shared. Without a will, family dispute is common. But with a will, there is a clear instruction. Without a will, there may be delay of probate, usually 3 to 7 years. But with a will, smoother administration. Without a will, unintended beneficiary. But with a will, your wishes respected. Without a will, minor children guidance. But with a will, you will appoint. The reality in Nigeria, dying without a will means leaving your family to fight over what you left behind. Now let us look at testamentary capacity. That is the first requirement. Can the testator legally make the will? Now let's look at this, the Banks versus good faith test. The testator must. Now the requirement and explanation. Understand the nature of making a will. Explanation here is that no, it is a document that takes effect after death. So you have to understand why you are making your will. Then know the extent of your property. Be aware of what they own. Comprehend claim of potential beneficiary. Know who might expect to inherit your property. Then be free from mental disorder affecting decision. No delusion influencing disposition. Now, the age requirement for a will is, according to the Will Act of 1837, the minimum age requirement is 21 years, but in Lagos State, the minimum age requirement is 18. So in Lagos State and Kaduna State, the requirement age is 18 years and above. Exception here is privilege will, that is soldiers in active service, solicitor at sea, so any age. So soldiers in active services, there is exception to age requirement. Then the critical timing, capacity required at least two moments. That's when giving the instruction and when signing the will. Having known that, let us look at step-by-step process of writing a will, from planning to execution. So there are 8 essential steps you must follow while writing a will. Number 1, confirm testamentary capacity. You have to confirm your testamentary capacity. Number 2, you have to list all your assets and liability. Number 3, identify the beneficiary clearly. Number 4, appoint an executor. Number 5, appoint guardian if you have minor children. Then number 6 step, you now draft the will with all clauses. Then number 7 step, you execute properly, that is sign plus your witness. So there must be a witness. Then number 8, the last, you store the will safely and inform your executor. Now let us look at assets inventory checklist, where you want to list all your assets. Then you have to list tangible assets such as land, building, vehicle, jewelries. You have to list them. We have intangible assets like bank account, share, investment, pension, insurance policies, and intellectual property. We have digital assets like cryptocurrency, social media, email account, cloud storage, and monetized channels. So you have to list all your assets and your liability. Let us look at the legal requirement for a valid will in Nigeria. That is the compliance under Will Act of 1837 as amended. There are 7 essential requirements. One, testament capacity. So the key detail is that you must be sound in mind and be up to required age. Number 2 requirement is the intention. That is aminus testandi. The key details is voluntarily, no coercion. So you must write your will voluntarily. It must not be subject to coercion. Then a will must be in writing. That is, it must be either typed, printed, or handwritten. Then there must be the testator's signature. So the testator must sign the will at the end of the document. There should be at least 2 witnesses present at the same time. Then the witness must sign, which is number 6 requirement, in the presence of the testator. Then number 7 and the last requirement is that knowledge and approval. So understand the contents of the will. So these are the key requirements for a will to be valid in Nigeria. The critical rule is that a beneficiary cannot be a witness of the will. If they do, their gift becomes void through the will remain valid, though the will may remain valid. So a beneficiary can never be a witness of the said will. So these are the requirements for a valid will in Nigeria. Having known that, let us look at the structure of a standard will. Essential clause explain. Then the anatomy of a will is that clause, it must have a title. So the purpose should be the last will and testament of the name. Then declaration, identify testors and perform capacity. Then revocation, cancel all previous will. Then appointment of executor, name those who will administer the estate. Then guardianship, appoint guidance for minor children. Then special gift, name special asset to specific beneficiary. Then there must be residual clause. Residual clause covers all remaining assets. It says that the remaining asset should be given to a particular beneficiary. Then payment of debt clause must be there. Direct settlement of liability when you are dead. So direct how your debt will be paid, state it in the will. Then attestation, the safety net, that is the residual clause. Without a residual clause, forgotten assets are distributed by intestate law, not your wishes. So when you don't state the residual clause, the forgotten assets are distributed by the intestate law, not your wish. Now let us look at sample will. That is the template of a will. Now the practical drafting example is that last will and testament of a name. So number 1, revocation clause. I hereby revoke all former will and testamentary disposition previously made by me. So this is how your will should read. Then number 2, subheading, appointment of executor. I appoint my wife. You state the name of your wife, and my brother, you state the name to be the executor of this my will. Then number 3, guardianship. You now state, I appoint my sister, whose name so person, to act as a guardian for my minor children. Then number 4, subheading, specific gifts. I give my house at so place to a particular beneficiary. I give my Toyota Camry to a particular beneficiary. I give the sum of 5 million naira from my UBA account to a particular beneficiary. Then number 5, then the residual estate. The residual estate, I give the remainder of my estate to a particular beneficiary in equal share. So the residual clause must be stated clearly. Then number 6, payment of debt. I direct my executor to pay all my just debt and funeral expenses. Then attestation clause, signed by the above named testator in the presence and witnessed by us in his presence and in the presence of each other. So you now sign the will. Then the witness number 1 will sign and the witness number 2 will sign. So this is sample will template. So this is how a will should look like. Having known that, let us look at execution formalities, that is signing and witnessing, getting it right. The rule of 2 is that the testator sign in the presence of the witness 1 and the witness 2. Then witness 1 will sign in the presence of the testator and in the presence of the witness 2. Then witness 2 will sign in the presence of the testator and in the presence of witness 1. So the signing is that the testator, the person writing the will, must sign the will in the presence of the two witnesses. Now, each of the witnesses will sign the same will in the presence of the testator and the other witness. The critical requirement is that all must be present at the same time. All sign each other's in presence. So signature at the end of the document. The witness must be competent adult. No beneficiary will serve as a witness. So if a testator cannot sign, then another person may sign at the testator's direction. Then it must be in testator's presence. Require a markman clause for illiterate and blind testator, preferable before magistrate or notary public. So these are the critical requirements. Having known that, let us look at common drafting errors, mistake that invalidate your will. The top 7 errors in Nigeria include: 1. Beneficiary as a witness. So when you use your beneficiary as a witness, it will invalidate the will. The consequence that the gift to the witness becomes void. Then number 2, no residual clause. When you did not put residual clause, the consequence is that partial intestate law decide on forgotten assets. So ambiguous language, avoid using ambiguous language like my children biologically or adopted. So these are some of the error. Then unsigned alteration. So when you make a mistake and you fail to sign it, it will invalidate the will. So crossing out names without initial leads to ignore. It will be ignored. No executor appointed. So when you don't appoint executor in a will, it is an error. Then number 6 error is vacuum asset description. When you did not describe your asset properly, it is an error. Then finally, improper signature placement. So at the end, it leads to a possible invalidity. So when you did not sign the will at the end, it will invalidate the will. The golden rule of drafting: be specific, be clear, and be precise. For example, the acceptable one is that my 3-bedroom house at number 20 Ikure Road, Port Harcourt. This one is clearly stated. But when you say my property without proper description, this is an error. Then another example is that my daughter Ada Okafor, born on 15th March 1990. This one is clearly stated. But when you say my daughter, it is not clearly and it is not specific. So these are common drafting error of a will. Having known that, let us look at codicils, that is amending a will, making changes without rewriting your will. What is a codicil? By a way of definition, a codicil is a supplementary legal document used to make minor changes to an existing will. When to use codicil versus when to write a new will. Now, use a codicil for changing an executor, for adding a small gift, for updating property description, for minor beneficiary changes, and for correcting an error. But when you want to write a new will, you create a new will when you have new marriage or when there is a divorce, create a new will for birth or adoption of children, for death of major beneficiary, create a new will for major asset acquisition, and for multiple codicil already. Now let us look at a sample of codicil format. I, name, declare this to be a codicil to my last will dated, you put the date, in the place of former executor. I appoint the new executor, you put the name. In all other aspects, I confirmed by said will. So legal requirements for codicil include same formalities as a will, must refer to the original will, put the date, then signed by the testator. There must be 2 witnesses present together, then each witness sign in the testator's presence. So these are legal requirements for codicil. Having known that, let us look at digital estate planning. That is the new frontier protecting digital assets. What are digital assets? Example categories of digital assets. 1, financial. Example, crypto wallet, Bitcoin, Ethereum, fintech like OPay, biggest trading app. These are examples of financial digital assets. We have commercial digital assets like YouTube channel, ad revenue, monetize social media. We have sentimental digital assets like cloud storage, like Google Photos, iCloud, email account. Then we have business digital assets like domain name, e-commerce store. The problem is that without planning, digital assets are lost forever or locked behind password and terms of services. So solution for digital estate planning. The strategy includes digital asset memorandum, the description, private document listing username, password, private key not in the will itself. Then fiduciary access clause, uh, grant executors legal authority to manage digital property. Instruction for seed phrases, how to access crypto wallet. Then the class storage access, that is a drafting tip, include I grant my executor power to access, manage, and distribute my digital asset, including cryptocurrency account, social media, and cloud storage. Having known that, let us look at safe storage of a will, protecting the document. Storage option in Nigeria include one, probate registry. So a will may be stored in the probate registry. It may be stored in the bank, that is bank deposit box. It may be stored in the law firm custody. It may also be stored in trust companies or home storage. Then the best practice for storage a will is that inform executor where will is stored. Then keep the copy separate from the original. Use fireproof or waterproof storage. Never use unstapled document, that is tampering suspicion, and consider lodges at probate registrar for maximum security. The tear-proof rule is that in some registry, if a will shows signs of being unstable and restable, it may be rejected on suspicion of tampering. Use permanent binding. In conclusion, that is the takeaway. Summary, creating a valid will in Nigeria centers on these 7 pillars. One, capacity. Action required. The testator must be of sound mind and of a legal age. Number two, intention. So it must be voluntary, no coercion. Three, the will must be in writing. Number four, there should be signature of the testator. Number five is witness. Two, at least there should be two competent witnesses. Then number six, attestation, all signed in each other's presence. Then number seven, storage. Store the will in a safe, accessible, and tamper-proof. The final thought is that a will properly drafted and executed today prevent family wars tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day.